Joshi of Angel Broking also joins in. Hi, Mayuresh. Good afternoon to you. We've seen a lot of these paper companies actually in the early part of the day. Many of them, in fact, hitting circuits, and a lot of them seeing 8-10% higher on the back of news that the production of waste paper pulp in China has been banned. We spoke with one of the companies earlier, Star Paper Management, who said that there isn't a lot of paper that's made from this waste paper pulp. What's the sense now? Would you still look at initiating a position in any of these companies? Are they good, fundamental, long-term bets?
Afternoon, Sumera. Yes, I think anything to do with China and the ban news thereof, I think creates a huge buzz. To add it up, secondly, if you look at the entire industry, the deleveraging has been very, very profound over the last 2 years. So on a debt-to-equity basis, it has come down from 1.6 times in FY15 to 1.1 times on a debt-to-EBITDA level. Has actually come down from 5.6 times for the industry as a whole to 3 times. Add that up, I think the valuations probably were in lower single digits. So I think the valuations were always there in favor of paper companies. The only issue was that the growth in terms of volumes and leverage on balance sheets was not getting played out. The China news in particular, yes, I think there are players who are going to benefit in terms of margin expansion, which can be very, very evident over the next few quarters. There are a few players who use pulp, so players like JK Paper actually use pulp which is in-house, and they're probably immune to any pulp price increases. Anything which goes down in terms of wastage paper, because that probably gets banned as well. A lot of paper companies import that as well, or use that as their raw materials. And Agarwal is one prominent paper company that I remember. You've also got Imami, and there are paper companies like TNPL who probably use bagasse. So largely, yes, I think the margin improvement can be profound over the next 2 quarters. So from a couple of quarters perspective, it can be good plays in terms of margin expansion and earnings. So yes, JK Paper, you probably can toss in something like a Ruchira paper, where the expectations of realization growth on writing paper can actually touch 57,000-58,000 rupees per ton over the next 2 months. Kraft paper can actually touch 30-odd thousand. And the disappointing numbers was more or less with 18% going down because of the cogen power plant. So I think a few stocks like these can actually do well over the next 2 quarters.
Fair point.
Hi, welcome back. You're watching Closing Bell. We're about 0.5% higher for the market now, so 10,300 odd on the Nifty, and the Sensex is up close to about 200 odd points. Ashwini, Mitesh and Mayuresh are with us. Mayuresh, let me come to you first. I want to talk to you about the stock Granules India. It's not been a great year for this stock, but I'm just reading some reports that there's some US FDA clearance now for their Virginia facility. You think there's more meat, for someone to chase this stock?
Probably, but again, I think being very, very selective, Sumera, at this point of time, specifically in the mid-cap names. So what we really liked was something like an Alchem Labs. But you've actually seen the kind of growth that you've seen both in terms of the prescription market share, which is at 8%, and that is expected to even grow higher. Now, if you're looking at the NDA pipeline for this company, for the US markets, 92 still in the pipeline, and still a huge way to go. So not affected in a large sense in terms of pricing pressures or any approvals thereof. So I think any approval front and significant earnings accretion from the US market will aid the overall earnings. Our own sense is that a 10% top line growth, a 13-14% bottom line growth is not ruled out. The stock has moved up significantly, but any investor holding can definitely hold. A decline is something that I'll put at in way of probably accumulating this stock. So being very, very selective, I think, Aurobindo and probably this stock, Alchem Labs, probably stay on our radar.
Fair enough. Ashwini, thought.
Right. Mayuresh, on the real estate space, if you pick up an HDIL or India Bulls Real, they're seeing some bit of extended losses today. Would you look at, going short on any of the real estate names? I mean, despite all its problems, a lot of these stocks have had a very, very good year.
Oh, absolutely, Sumera. And if you look at the way these stocks have moved, I think it's been a phenomenal move for a lot of these stocks. We really like a bunch of these, I think, Colte Patil at lower levels, but again, the movement there has been pretty sharp. What we really like is very, very selective, and a few players bait of the south. Again, Soba is something that we liked in the past, but again, a huge move there. Brigade Enterprises is something that still probably, in my opinion, on declines, stands out, both in terms of how its residential properties are coming up, as well as hospitality properties, as well as the annuity properties. So to a large extent, if you look at the realizations, they're expected to improve. The kind of receivables that they've got on their book, as execution improves, can be quite significant over the next few quarters. There are supposed to be a few launches which should happen in this quarter and next. The pre-sales velocity will determine the kind of receivables that this company can actually have a huge say in the coming few quarters. So yes, I think Brigade looks like a very interesting story on declines from the real estate pack at this point of time. But a lot of stocks, you're right, I think have moved up quite significantly.
Okay, Mayuresh, we'll let you go on that note. Thanks a lot for your time.